the status of air pollution and air quality, what it does to you, and then what you can do to help protect yourself from some of the impacts, and also what we can do collectively to make change into the future. So let me start by introducing our panelists. So we have Ladira Rahman sitting next to me. She is a strategic advisor for climate change program with the Shakti Foundation for Disadvantaged Women. Ladira's career has focused on climate action and sustainable finance. For the last decade, she has relentlessly worked on air quality issues, peri-urban green space interventions, and ecosystem management. Shakti Foundation is an NGO committed to the economic and social empowerment of disadvantaged women across Bangladesh and believes that women are entrepreneurs, change makers, and leaders. Their Save Your Breath, Shakti for Clean Air initiative raises awareness about community-level pollutants and advocates for policy changes to improve air quality. Next, we have Mohamed Azhar Razak, who is an economist and senior health specialist with the Health, Nutrition, and Population Global Practice at the World Bank. Mohamed is an economist with experience in analytical work and program design and implementation with a focus on health and social protection in Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. He has a PhD in health economics from Erasmus University of Rotterdam and scholarly publications in peer-reviewed journals. Mohamed is an author of groundbreaking research in the World Bank's report, Breathing Heaven, New Evidence on Air Pollution and Health in Bangladesh, which assesses the impact of air pollution in physical and mental health. And our third panelist is Woodwin Sturk, founder of Smart Air Bangladesh. Sturk is an advocate for sustainable urban development. He has had a career channeling his passion to two critical environmental areas, clean air and clean water. Sturk founded Smart Air Bangladesh, a social business that focuses on clean air initiatives and mission-driven efforts to combat air pollution in Bangladesh and promote healthier urban environments. By integrating product sales with community engagement, Smart Air Bangladesh works to have a tangible impact on air quality and contribute to the overall well-being of Bangladeshis. So please, let's start with a round of applause for our three panelists. We're so fortunate to have such experts with us today. And we'll begin by just having each panelist share a few initial thoughts on air quality and pollution and the work that they do.
Thank you, Leslie. Today is actually, Dhaka is number one all over the world. And Wamik just informed me yesterday as well, right? So that is actually quite devastating considering we all have children who are young and this kind of air pollution is all affecting their lives. In fact, it's shaving off 7.7 years of their life because the air pollution levels are so high. In fact, the air pollution levels are actually today is 310, the last I checked, which is about equivalent to smoking 12 cigarettes in a day. So that is our kids, that's our elderlies, that's our loved ones with comorbidities. They're all smoking 12 cigarettes in a day. And we all know the hazard that cigarette smoking does to our lungs. Not just our lungs, but also our mental health, which I think Wamik has done groundbreaking research, Wamik and Ifatapa from World Bank, and I would love to hear more about that. But it also affects our reproductive systems as well. One of the causes of miscarriages is this air pollution. So I think if I would like to give the rest of my panelists an opportunity to talk more about their experiences. So this is Wamik.
I have a mic. Thank you. It's fine. Do I need that? Oh, okay. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me. Air pollution in Bangladesh is increasingly becoming a large issue. So there are a number of sources from where the air pollution emits, and I'm going to be talking about the study that Labiba mentioned in a few minutes. But a large at least a sizable proportion also comes in through the international boundaries. So that's something we need to keep in mind. But just to put it in context, in terms of the scale, so we looked at data up until 2020, secondary data, and air pollution was the second largest cause or driver of premature deaths. And it led to between 78 to 88,000 premature deaths in 2020, which is equivalent to about 4.4% of our GDP. So the scale that we are talking about, the erosion of life, the 7.7 years from the Chicago study that you mentioned, is extremely relevant. So I'm excited to be here today. Hopefully, we all start wearing masks a little bit more. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Wamek. Thank you. Thank you for having me on this panel today. My name is Boudewijn Sterk. Air pollution is a topic that is really, really close to me, close to my health, but also close to the health of every one of you, all of you. In 2019, we started Smart Air Bangladesh, my partner and I, with the goal to make sure that everybody in Bangladesh can breathe clean air. So on the one hand, we provide tools like air purifiers, masks, monitors. On the other hand, we do awareness raising, talking to people, creating communities that care about air pollution in order to change the situation in Bangladesh. As a father, as a parent, I have a 3-year-old daughter. I can't believe that we face a gas chamber, a Dhaka gas chamber every winter, where the air quality is so bad that the best thing to do is just stay inside. Why is it that we've been suffering this for more than 20 years and there is no change, right? My question for you here today, that's what I would like to talk about, is do you accept that? Do you want this to continue for another 5, 10, 15, 20 years, right? Because why Dhaka has to be different as a mega city from New York or Beijing, which has a lot of traffic, has a lot of people, but the air quality is actually quite okay. Right? Why do we suffer here from this hazardous industrial pollution that makes the air like a toxic soup, right? We should do something about that. And I'm here with my team and with the panel today to talk about that. What can we do to create change?
Thank you. So let's start out by discussing, so how bad is it? I know, Lydia, you mentioned that the air quality in Dhaka today is the worst in all the world. What's the trajectory? How bad is it? Where is it coming from? Even go to
You can say.
Talk about it,
Yes, absolutely.
it's a result of
Okay, so back to how bad is it? What are the causes? Where is this air pollution coming from?
So one of the points that Mohammed mentioned about transforming air pollution, that is definitely a huge contributor. We're all talking also about vehicles being a massive contributor of black smoke and emissions, but as research has shown that construction sites are actually within Dhaka the number one contributor of air pollution. In fact, because construction sites, there are no covers or canopies, the construction materials are stockpiled outside. This is all emitting emissions and air pollutants into the atmosphere. And moreover, all these trucks that are carrying construction materials from outside Dhaka into Dhaka they're also uncovered. So as they're traveling inside, they're polluting the air within from the peri-urban to the urban. So those are some huge causes of air pollution, and I hope Wally can also talk about how construction sites are also contributing towards mental health issues, right? That the people who live beside construction sites have greater mental health problems than anyone who doesn't or isn't exposed to that. There's also your carbon emissions from vehicles that are also happening. So in Dhaka, we see that there are private vehicles everywhere. The state of our public transportation is, leaves a lot to be desired, of course. But then there's also this exploitation that families, one person traveling from lane 8 to lane 10 using a car, whereas they can easily walk that distance, they can cycle that distance, or they can carpool. This method of school buses is not as prevalent as it really should be. So all these kids, not only do they cause traffic around the area where the schools are located, it's causing massive congestion and air pollution as well. So these are all contributing towards the huge amount of air pollution that we've been seeing, as Charles said, over the last 20 years. The other thing is this lack of green spaces where we're not planting enough trees, lack of blue spaces where we don't have enough water to cool down the atmosphere, and lack of open spaces where we don't have enough proliferation of air pollutants. Like, the air needs to flow, right? Instead of getting trapped. And this is why during winter, air pollution is so severe because the cold, dense air traps the pollutants in its place and doesn't really allow it to move. And another huge thing that happens during winter is leaf burning. So our municipalities and our, our Bochenko societies or our Bonani Baritara, Mogat societies, they really need to step up on this and start regulating this leaf burning, because all other wastage has resale value, right? More or less. So plastic has resale value, other objects have resale value, but leaves really don't have resale value. It's as simple as making a hole and burying the leaves, but since that itself seems like too much work for them. So what they do is, in order to create some kind of warmth in the winter, they're burning the leaves and injecting a huge amount of pollutants into the air. So that is why you see around nighttime, when the temperature drops, there's so much more smog than during the day. Because it has to generate, because they want to generate warmth, and they also want to get rid of the leaf. The most easy way to do this is to burn them. So we're trying to encourage people and make them understand the impact of their actions. Every little action contributes towards air pollution.
So in terms of the health effects of air pollution, so the study that Labiba was mentioning, we followed about 12,500 people with personal air quality monitors over a 24-hour period during the peak of the pollution season. And we saw that across Dhaka, which is the dirtiest part of the country, versus Sylhet. We see that it's the construction sites that, as Labiba mentioned, it's the construction sites combined with traffic that emit the highest amount of PM 2.5, which is known to be the most harmful for health. So in Bangladesh, one of the largest drivers of under 5, like for kids under 5, cause of death is pneumonia. And we found that a 1% increase in PM 2.5 above the safe levels is associated with an 8.1% increase in the probability of getting pneumonia. Now, in a country that's already reeling from significant effects of pneumonia, this is a substantial issue. Now, in terms of mental health, this is definitely a new area of study in the region, beyond Bangladesh as well. And we see that because of the mechanisms of how PM 2.5 works, I'm an economist, so I'm not going to pretend to know the medical side as well. But from what we understand, PM 2.5 is so tiny that it can inhibit your neurotransmitters from firing. So what that does is it induces depression. It stops your dopamines and serotonins from firing. So it induces depression. So we see that a marginal increase in air pollution increases the probability of having depression, and this continues to grow. So with that in mind, it's a dire picture before I pass it on to Bao.
Yeah, what can I add? So many has been said already. One thing I think which is lacking so far in Bangladesh is sufficient data. We have few monitoring stations about air quality, let's say in the Gulshan area, maybe a bit outside. But the rest of the country, we actually have no idea. There, the government has a few stations, about 7 to 9, set up throughout the country, but the data is not publicly accessible. Well, question is why, right? Why are they not sharing that data? We need to get a better understanding of the situation throughout the country. What's the air pollution in the north, in the south, in east, in west? How much is coming from the border, India or Nepal? How much are we creating ourselves? If you look at the level of air pollution in Bangladesh, that is beyond industrial pollution. That is not just traffic and construction sites. That is an industrial pollution effort, right? Emissions that go unchecked, brick kilns, industries. The priority is still on economic growth. But economic growth at the cost of what? I know we all want to move forward as a nation. Are we willing to risk our long-term health for that? If the situation does not change, you can expect that in the next 10 to 20 years, we will see endemics of lung cancer, of more premature death, right? Of disability and depression. Now, the depression part is something that really opened my eyes when we were working with students at schools. We do workshops and we teach them how to build their own air purifier. And these are kids, like children over here, 8 to 10 years old. They're born in Dhaka and they only know throughout their lives that the winter or the rest of the year, the air is polluted, right? They have never seen clean air, blue skies, maybe a few days a year. What does that do to your mental well-being? What does that do in terms of stress? And as parents, right? How do you feel to protect your children? How do you manage that? Those questions, right? That's the real effect of air pollution, the long-term impact. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. So let's dig a bit more into the health impacts, and then after that, we'll switch over to what we can do about it. So, Mohammed, can you share some more insights from the research that you've done on how air pollution affects us, mental health as well as overall general well-being?
I was talking about the statistics a couple of minutes ago. So, I mean, at this point, we looked at, let me take a broader view to this. So if you look at climate change, for instance, right? Bangladesh is one of the most vulnerable countries. It's the 7th most vulnerable country to the effects of climate change. Now, the climate change has a lot of different facets. There is heat that we know of. There is more extreme weather events that everybody's familiar with, flooding, cyclones, so on and so forth. But one of the things we don't necessarily associate air pollution is with climate change. So what happens is as the ground heats up, the air heats up, it creates a cycle where it traps the air pollution, keeps making it worse. So that's one angle. So the cumulative effects on health is substantial. Air pollution definitely plays a large part in this, but there's other aspects as well. Heat, for instance, which we are currently studying. Now, in terms of talking about mental health, we did a previous study called Climate Afflictions, where we it was kind of the first of its kind in the country that looked at general mental health conditions, like common mental health disorders like depression, anxiety, co-presence of both. And it was subsequently published in the Lancet series. And we saw that on average, about 16% of Bangladeshis across urban and rural areas are clinically depressed. About 6% have general anxiety disorders. Now, when we look at the association between air pollution and mental health, that a 1% increase in air pollution is associated with a 20% increase in air pollution, in depression. So that essentially translates to rising from 16 to 19%. And every percent after that, it continues to increase, not necessarily in a linear way, but definitely has a cumulative effect. So, and I mean, this is a very mental health focused area and celebration that we're doing here, right? So I don't really need to go into the cost of such high levels of mental health conditions in the country. So I don't think there's much more to add at this stage. So over to you guys.
Anything else to add?
It is depressing.
Yeah, a bit depressing. I mean, we did just have right before this session was the mental health session. So you can tell Dr. Flo, like all these issues are interrelated and really important for well-being. Anything else to add on the health impacts? We're ready to go. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a small statistic. It's estimated that every year around 80,000 people in Bangladesh die because of air pollution. So that's not only a number, those are, our friends, our family, people that we know, acquaintances. It is really a serious problem. It's more than a public health crisis, it's an emergency, and something really needs to be done about that.
Perfect. Okay, so let's talk about what we can do. What are some of the actions that we can take? Let's start individually first, at the individual level. What can we do?
Yeah, go for it.
So there are three spheres if you look at it. There's the individual level, there's a community level, and then there would be the policy level. And the stronger we are at each level as we rise up, the next level just gets easier to do. So at the individual level, we really have to understand that this is an invisible threat. People are not taking air pollution seriously, as my esteemed panelists have mentioned, because you literally can't see it. You see it as small, and you take it for granted that this wheezing that you have is because of the cold. But the fact that air pollution is causing it rather than the cold, because really the temperatures don't get as low as, in the Western world, right? And I know that Sark can attest to that. It's really the air pollution that is causing this. So the invisibility of it kind of diminishes the gravity, the impact that air pollution has on us. What we need to understand is that, as I had mentioned previously, that every individual action contributes. From planting trees, to using more eco-friendly transportations, to talking to more people, making them aware of their situations, and talking to their societies or their policymakers. Every action counts. In a good way, every action counts to make things better. In a bad way, every action counts to make air pollution worse. So what can you do? It can be as simple as creating more green spaces, inclusive public green spaces, where you get children involved, help them to understand how important nature is. The trees or the plants that have the bigger leaf span will generate more oxygen and sequester more carbon emissions. Increase that, increase more blue spaces within your community, have more open spaces where you can combat these issues of mental health. The more they can go out of these houses, they include better air and fresh sunlight, vitamin D, right? in the most simplistic way. The second thing you can do is, if schools on a community level, if schools start investing in school buses, that will really help with this mass level of pollution that happens from vehicles. On a policy level, we really need to regulate construction sites. We really need to regulate large construction, mega projects that are happening all over the country. And as Stark has said, the focus is on economic growth, but it comes at a cost, right? And then that environmental cost really needs to be taken into account. And then spreading a level of awareness is also really important because people really need to understand the impact that they can have even as an individual. The most shocking part was when I first started working on air pollution awareness, people were like, what can I do about it? They had no clue. So invest in an air quality sensor, understand what an AQI is, understand what an AQI interprets to, take actions. For example, if an AQI of 150 to 200, if you're reading that, that means you really shouldn't be going out. You should be wearing masks. You should be protecting yourself. You shouldn't be using cars, right? Because that's just going to contribute more towards the emissions. So these simple actions can really cumulatively help make Dhaka a more healthier place to live.
So my two kids who are bored out of their mind right now is sitting in the middle row over there. It's a struggle to get them to wear masks when they go to school every morning because it's not comfortable and it's not this, it's not that. And I just want to highlight that their school, which is in United City, all the way in Shatarkul, happens to be one of the most polluted parts of the city. And when we collected the data, it was about 829% above the safety levels. Yeah. So you can imagine what that does to you. And now she's wearing a mask. Thank you. But the thing is, at the individual level, on a one-on-one personal level, what the only preventive thing you can do at this stage is wear a mask. This is a privileged area that we're in. Most of the people are better off than most people in the country. If you can, buy an air filter for your home. If you can, donate an air filter to families who may not be able to afford it. And get involved. I'm going to follow up on what Labiba said. Get involved. We need to collectively raise our voices so that people hear us, so that people realize about just we're talking about who has the loudest voice right now. And we need to make this issue louder. So with that, I'm going to pass it on.
Just waiting for this drone to fly by because it's kind of distracting. Exactly. Okay, get involved. Yes, get involved. Okay, I'm going to tell you something about getting involved. Every year I find myself getting more and more frustrated and angrier about this situation, right? So what can you do? You have to channel that energy. What can you do, right? I love the idea of working together, getting involved as a community. What if we start together and crowdsource, which means that all of us put in a small amount of money, we crowdsource some sensors. We set up a sensor in every park of Dhaka so that people can check every day on their map, is it safe to go out? Should I wear a mask if I want to do a run or a walk? Right? You create that awareness. Right? Second thing is, how do you create enough noise that the government actually starts to care? Because this is an issue that we as a community, as individuals, cannot solve by ourselves. But, as Labiba mentioned, in those 3 steps, we have to get to the top, right? We have to get to make sure that the government starts to care. So we have to start making noise. Talk to your friends, talk to your family members, talk to your acquaintances, create awareness, raise this issue at your work, right? Are you safe at your office? Do you breathe clean air? How does it affect you? But also, we are in this VIP area, right? We are in the most rich area of Dhaka, so to say. Right? Some of us may know some of those people that have factories, some of those people that have construction companies, right? why don't you talk to them about their responsibility about creating clean air and making prevention? Those people are also responsible, right? To make this place, Dhaka city, more livable for all of us. Finally, we have to at some point protest and start making demands, because if we don't raise a voice, I don't think anything will change. That's what we can do on a collective level. At home, make sure you have a safe zone. Maybe one room, maybe your bedroom where you spend most of the time. Make sure that room is clean, that room is safe. You have an air purifier, you seal your windows so outside air cannot come in, right? You keep that room completely safe, that you know, okay, I sleep here, my kids sleep here. Even during wintertime when pollution is this high, I know the air quality is okay. And as Wamek mentioned, I mean, wear a mask. This thing, right? A mask will cost you 200, 300 taka, and it will prevent 95 to 99% of outdoor air pollution entering your system. Actually, the more I know about air pollution, the more paranoid I get. I should be wearing my mask right now, but it will be a bit strange to look at me, this guy wearing a mask in a panel. So normally I would really, and you'll see me as one of the weird guys walking around the park. I'm wearing my mask all the time. It's how I feel protected. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you. So we've gotten some really great ideas about what we can do individually, collectively, to make a difference. So to one last question to our panelists, and we'll take a question too from the audience. Where can people find out more? Where can they find you and your organization, and where you're doing things? How can they find you or find more information about the topic?
So Shakti Foundation has set up a stall at the Earth section. It's right opposite the children's playground. Please visit us. You have a lot of good resources for information, for understanding and learning, and our team is over there to help you with anything that you need to understand about air pollution.
Unfortunately, the World Bank did not set up a stall here. I asked them, they said no. But we are working with the government. As Barman mentioned, currently they have about, well, the last time we checked, they had about 12 air quality monitoring stations across the country, 3 of which were in Dhaka. Now, these have effective radii of about 500 meters, I think. I forget. So we need a lot more. So fortunately, there's an ongoing project that's helping the government install a lot more monitors. And I know your organization, which you're going to talk about, has done so as well. So kudos. Other than that, yeah, I mean, if you're interested in the report that we were talking about, please look up Breathing Heavy, World Bank, and it should come up in Google. So,
All right, thank you. We are Smarter Bangladesh. You can Google us, smarterfilters.com. We have a stand also in the Earth Zone. We're next to each other. You can talk to my people over there, team. We do workshops. We gladly come to your school, your office, your community, your club, and tell you about air pollution and how you can protect yourself. Other stuff we do is we have installed air quality sensors, one in this park and one close to our office, and we plan to install more as a, let's say, voluntary contribution. I would suggest everyone to download an air quality app on their phone. There are about 10 different apps. You can find them, they're free. You should check it like the weather report every day. What is the air quality like before I go outside? Make your decisions based on that information. That would be really my recommendation. Keep track of the air around you.
All right. So we have a few minutes to take a question or two from the audience. Yes.
Hi. Now, it's a little sad. I'm a 5-year-old, so all of this was a new human thing. What can we do for little children, given that it's not going to change overnight? What step can we take?
Yeah, so again, like doom and gloom, if you're a parent of young children, what can we do since it's going to take time to make a big change? What can people do now since it can take time to change overnight?
So I have a 5-year-old as well, and it's really difficult. Masks are one of the initiatives, as Ramik and Stark mentioned, that you can, but we know that 5-year-olds getting them to keep a mask on is difficult. But I feel like this is an investment. It will not happen overnight. Children really need to understand what is happening around them. They need to understand that planting trees, they need to understand that using cars less often, they need to understand what an AQI is and how their actions should be affected because of the AQI level. So it's remarkable how smart these young kids are. We think they don't understand anything, but their brains are like sponges, right? So I think if we teach them young and we invest enough time and activity in them to understand, like what we discussed today, these are the things at an individual level, what we can do, cumulatively it should add up to better AQI level for the future.
Aside from the mask, so we tend to see that air pollution peaks early morning and it continues to go down until the evening. So try to limit outdoor time to when it's hot, comparably hot. So like early afternoon to late afternoon. Aside from that, especially early morning, mask is the only way to do this. Yeah.
Yeah, practical advice. Set up a safe zone in your home. Seal your windows. Yeah, the apartments here, windows are not very good, not very well sealed, right? So outside air can come in. Seal them, use tape or rubber. Yeah? Clear those gaps. Set up a safe zone, at least one place where you have an air purifier, where you know the air is clean. Yeah? And look at where does your kid spend most of his time? Probably 8 to 10 hours at home, probably 6 to 8 hours at school. Maybe traveling up and down in traffic, a few hours in the car, right? Get an air purifier for your car. If you measure it, you will be surprised how bad the air quality inside your car is. You're basically sitting in some sort of box breathing. Huh? And talk to your school. Can we please have air purifiers? Can you please make sure that our kids are safe in the classroom because they spend 6 to 8 hours daily there? School has a sort of responsibility to take and look after the health of our kids. So definitely raise those issues. I think the most difficult thing that we experience is awareness raising, awareness creation. But once people become aware, we do see change. Just be careful that you don't go into the paranoid side, like myself here. You know that very well. So, cheers.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question.
Hello. Thanks. So I was just showing him right now the AQI in different cities. And I remember 20 years ago, Beijing was the city that had the highest air pollution in the whole world. It was like 200, 250. And we always used to talk about it. Right now, I consistently do. Beijing right now is at 33. So obviously, it's a success story, right? They did something right. And I wanted to ask for 2 questions. Is it all on the policy side that made the difference for a city like Beijing? Or are there technological solutions that they have developed to take the particles back out of the air? Or is it only preventative? Is that all we can do?
Can I take this one? Yes, Beijing, very good example. So that was horrible air pollution, and then the Olympic Games came, right? 15 years ago, 16 years ago. And the athletes and the governments were shaming the Chinese government. We are not sending our athletes to Beijing if they have to perform in this horrible air. The American embassy installed a air quality monitor, like we have here in Dhaka as well. And they started tweeting every day the data, the readings. And they started embarrassing the government. Look at the air pollution here. So they forced the government to take action, right? Of course, the Olympic Games were also a big stimulus. Policy, yes. Let's say cars. They have so many cars. Cars with even number plates on one day, and the next day cars with uneven number plates. So some cars have to stay inside. Other cars can drive. They would shut down industrial areas around the city, and the technology is definitely available, which is kind of like we call that scrubbers that you can install in chimneys or exhausts of factories and industrial facilities. And yes, it may be expensive, but I refuse to believe that there's not enough money available in Bangladesh. Right? If one of our ministers can buy 300 apartments in UK overseas, right? If in 10, 15 years, the amount of money that goes abroad is 10 times mega projects like the Papma Bridge or the Metro Rail, there is definitely enough finance available to create the conditions and have the technological solutions to combat air pollution. That's really what I've realized over the last few years. This narrative of, we don't have enough money, we have to get out of that victim mentality and we need to start taking some action. Thank you.
If I could just add to that, so if you're looking at Beijing, you're looking at New Zealand, a really good example is right here in Dhaka, where do you remember those orange and black baby scooters? The two-stroke three-wheelers, right? Huge like black smoke emissions. And then on the policy level, the government banned them and AQI levels dropped ridiculously. But then what brought it up again was the massive construction that was happening all over the country. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is that vehicles are a huge source, and regulating vehicles, one particular mechanism within our cars, buses, trucks is the catalytic converter, which has a lifespan of about 7 to 10 years. This machine basically, it filters out the pollutants, right, that is emitted from the cars. So that's why the car smoke is white. The minute the car smoke turns black, that's when your catalytic converter has lost its lifespan. And as Stark said, it's expensive. So what we were doing, and this was actually an idea that Shazia had inspired us to take on, was we spoke to car shops. We have 5 car workshops, who have agreed to give 20 to 10% discount on catalytic converters. Like if you want to, and Shopee it's a Shopee affiliated workshop. So if you do find your cars or the trucks or buses around you emitting black smoke, they can come to these workshops. They can have their catalytic converters changed at discount of 20 to 10%. Depends on which workshop you go to, honestly. And their cars are available at our stall. Please come by and visit. So what we're trying to do is install real change. Even at the policy level, it doesn't happen. Our individual responsibility, trying to make it more financially viable for a lot of people, we're trying to do that. So just drop by. And it's right opposite the children's playground. Shakti Foundation. So guys, catalytic converters, that's the key within your vehicles to kind of reduce the level of pollution.
Okay, let's give our panelists a round of applause. Thank you. Such great information that's so critical to us for our health and for affecting change in Bangladesh. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. So good. Really good.
Are we done?
Thank you, Leslie. I know you guys had all
Thanks
the
for
information.
moderating this.
Hey, I just